on Monday. Wi-Fi issues in the past, we believe.
We hope.
We
Don't
hope.
say that.
I don't know. We'll see. It's
thoughts on
flashing
this
some
game
alert at me that like
right
my
here.
browser's too updated for this software. We'll see. So I vow tonight, if I start glitching, I'm gone. It's your show, Bobby. Okay.
All right.
You
Why
run
it's
it.
gotta be Bobby's
Yeah.
show? Let's do a sequel to the Josue Pavone show, man. That thing didn't really get to launch the way I
The
wanted.
Josue solo show.
Dude,
The Josue
I'm not
solo show.
I was listening in the podcast, like in my car, and like that part had me laughing. I was just trying to picture you being like, "All right, I guess that's it." Like it's just
Yeah,
me
but
now.
did you hear me ramp up though? Once it really sunk in, I was like, oh wait a minute, I got this. I was like, all right, let's do this.
I'm Josue freaking Pavone.
Yeah,
I got
I can
I
do
was
this.
like, wait a minute, I know how to do
Yeah.
this. I got
I'm
this.
Josue
wipe my own
Pavone.
ass.
I've got my own podcast. I'm a veteran reporter. I got this.
I haven't hosted in so long, I forgot. I'm like, I know how to do this.
I know. So, as people are coming in here slowly, we'll get into things as we go. Weird game, lots to talk about. I think. Marcus. We'll get into Marcus. Brad playing lots of players. First time we saw the big three here. It's interesting.
First
So
time
I don't
we saw
know.
the big three. What are you talking about?
I'm saying,
Right.
I didn't love.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Kemba.
So everybody, your thoughts here on what we saw tonight. Josue, you start.
Yeah, I was just about to go. These guys played one heck of a game. Listen, give a lot of credit to the San Antonio Spurs. You could have gone either way, obviously. I mean, when you look down,
Kick 'em out.
when you look at the defense
Bobby.
from both sides, I mean, it gave up a lot. So at the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, the Celtics are in good shape. Brad Stevens, you don't want to get these other guys down, the end of the bench guys. That's why he played a lot of people today, right? Everyone's like, oh, wait, the big three's back together. It's back to the old rules, back to, guys buried in the bench. But no, he didn't do it that way. And I thought that if this thing went the other way, if the Celtics pulled this one off, it would have looked like a genius in that everyone had a part in it.
For about 5 minutes, Aaron Nesmith was like, I might actually be part of this thing. And then
he thought he was going to be buried
son.
in the bench. He was like,
Back
there's
to the
no way
bench,
I'm
son.
playing against Antonio.
Even Grant Williams got some burn.
the 13th man, Grant.
Yeah, that first bench rotation actually looked pretty good with Teague, Nesmith, Thompson playing well for some stretches of this game.
Oh, Teague is the enemy of ball movement. Holy crap.
They did win those minutes though when his rotation got their shot, but it's like they kept going deeper and deeper into the bench to try to find different rotations. The Grant one was a bit of a desperation move, obviously, that worked out when they went huge in that third quarter. But it all goes back to that second quarter, the most shameful effort we've seen of the year. I don't know what they were doing anywhere defensively. You had Smart cheating in on shooters into the lane against DeRozan. You had guys falling asleep on backline cuts. It all started with Jaylen Brown just snoozing on Keldon Johnson while he cut backdoor. And then, of course, Tatum throwing away 2 straight inbound passes to end the second quarter. They gave up 10 straight buckets, 20 to 25 throughout the middle course of this game. And this is the second time this season they've allowed a monstrous run. I was trying to think of what other game they did the exact same thing. It was that Pacers game that they actually ended up winning. They gave up like 15 of 18 through the midway point of that game. So this defense isn't good.
What do you think for real? What do you think the odds would be on the Celtics having the ball with 3.3 seconds to go at half court and the Pacers scoring and the Spurs scoring the next 4 points? That's like
Slim.
a million. That's like
Very
a million
slim.
to one, right?
Yeah, that was so sloppy. That kind of summarized that second quarter. I think Bobby explained it pretty well there. But sloppiness, Jason Tatum both times on those inbounds there, and I'm sure he heard it.
That's what I wonder. That's the first thing I thought, Jimmy. What I wondered is every single person watching that at home, probably just screamed a big F-bomb, threw something against the wall, was like, what the?
Yeah.
Okay. When they go into the locker room, does Stevens walk up to Tatum and say, get your freaking head out of your ass? Or is it just kind of like, okay, methodical, here's what we got to do, guys?
I think
we talk about chair throwing Stevens. Was that a chair throwing Stevens halftime?
I think it was, but it wasn't good. the way it ended obviously was a Tatum issue, but I mean that was the boiling over point because that entire quarter was trash. It was 29-6, I think, was the run. Stevens I'm sure was already heated, gonna be going into half that way, but I mean that was just the cherry on top. So I don't know if he would have singled out Tatum in that situation, but certainly I would be stunned if he didn't come storming into that locker room, Mad Brad mode, and then. So that second quarter, predictable comeback in the second half by the Celtics. Just the way that second quarter went, there's no way they could play that poorly coming out of that halftime. So I wasn't surprised to see them make a game out of it. When the Spurs turned the ball over 20-plus times or 20 times, whatever it was, you got to win that game. I mean, that's never going to happen.
Yeah. That's why you don't give the Spurs credit here. The Spurs were a mess. They were awful throughout large stretches of this game.
Yeah, this was a sleepwalking effort for the Celtics. It was a crap game by Kemba, crap game by Smart. Tatum was in and out of it. Defensive lapses for both him. Brown had his worst half of the season, and he rebounded fairly well at the end of the day. I mean, he looked mortal, I guess. That's about it. Tatum had one of those like, am I into this or not into it sort of games. It was a half-ass effort. It's a half-ass incomplete effort. A lot of people, though, are going to. I don't know whether I'm going to. I don't get the philosophy behind it. Josue's point is something I had not considered. The 12 players in the first half of. Okay, I don't want you guys to think that you've been completely marginalized now that we've got our starters back and you're not going to play. I don't know that was it. I don't know what the thinking was behind that. I can't land on it. But we talked about Bobby was saying on the thread, the bench did fine. The starters blew it. But my counter argument to that is you sit people, they get cold, and you get people out of rhythms. And I thought the worst performances, obviously, of the entire game were from the starters coming back off the bench there. And Tatum was crap, and Kemba was crap, and Jalen was crap. That's when we saw them at their worst. And that's demoralizing when your best players are playing that poorly.
I mean, are we really going to treat these professional athletes like kids, like they all need to get a chance to play? Like, this isn't rec league. Like,
yeah, everyone gets a quarter.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's what's going through Brad Stevens' head. Now, the reasoning behind it, I don't know. I agree with John in the sense where you just can't listen. You're getting Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum all back together on the court for the first damn time. Give them some long burn. Give them some. Let's see maybe they'll pick up where they left off.
It's a third game in 4 nights, so you're probably not going to kill them. Tice going into foul trouble hurt too. The stability inside. You had more of a mixed bag of centers tonight. Probably a reason why Grant got into it a little more too later in this one. But this is what we talked about yesterday while you were absent, Jimmy. This is why you missed it. There's no sure things off this bench.
Sounds like that teacher giving the student crap.
There's no sure things off this bench. So, who's to say all of a sudden Neesmith doesn't get involved more here because you don't feel great about Semi or Green in the early portions of this one. That's why Carson Edwards is playing over Teague. John actually nailed that one, that Teague's just been so mediocre that you look for a little something from Carson early in this one. So that's why all these guys are mixing in and out, because even though the bench has had its moments this year, I think overall they've been good more than not. There's no concrete individuals. I think you make a good point, though, John, with Tatum and Brown to start the fourth, both of them on the bench. It's nice to have Kemba out there leading that group, but is he far enough along to lead an entire unit for several minutes while the 2 stars are sitting on the bench? I would have thought you'd have at least one of them in there at the start of that fourth quarter. Longer stretches with the bench than you would have expected in this one, but it probably goes back to the third game in 4 nights, travel, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but Bobby, I mean, after the third quarter that they put together, I think that's what's most frustrating about this game, because you don't see them close it out. Whereas the third quarter was an issue before, right? And that's why I think Brad Stevens may have been tough on these guys, because the way they ended that first half was so sloppy and atrocious that he must have been like, look, if I don't get into these guys, maybe he didn't single Tatum out, but if I don't give these guys, if I don't rip these guys' heads off, I mean, what kind of attitude are they going to have going into the second half? And I think a lot of it has to do with, again, this is the Spurs, and playing against Popovich. I think maybe Brad, maybe he was doing a little too much overthinking.
Did you look at that second quarter and say, all right, we'll let the bench guys roll if these starters aren't going to get it done?
I mean, he may have been overthinking a bit in the sense of playing a lot of those guys in that first half, a huge bulk of the first half. But I mean, in that third quarter, I mean, is there really much of an excuse other than the fact that the Spurs did come to play, and in that fourth quarter, and they punched the Celtics in the mouth, but the Celtics were right into it, right towards the end. I mean, when it comes down to it, the Spurs did, get the last laugh here, but I just feel like Brad Stevens put his team in the position to win heading into that fourth quarter. You have that huge third quarter where you took the momentum. I mean, Jalen and Tatum both had 7 points at halftime, and they single-handedly scored the same amount of points as the San Antonio Spurs in that third quarter, just showing you how explosive their offense can be. Where was that down the stretch?
I was stunned. Brown let Johnson go by him the way he did across.
That was something. Let's go over that end of the game stuff, okay?
How about the Jalen play? That reminded me of Game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals with Tatum at the end and going up against Bam, except for it was Aldridge this time.
But yeah, let's go down the end of the game there. Obviously, Kemba getting ripped was a disgrace, and that's the ball game right there. It's hard to argue against it. Good defensive play, but come on, man. Take care of the ball. The other thing, this is the thing that I think is probably going to cause us, the four of us to break up, that we'll end up arguing about till the end of time. Tatum passing up the shot to Smart. I understand rational-minded people will say Smart had the better look, and it was open three in the corner. I don't know that I can argue with it. But again, here we are where you're working the ball around, and you give it to
the trust thing, though. It's the trust
thing.
thing.
Your fourth you have three scorers on the floor, and the fourth guy and your fourth option gets the final shot of the game. Granted, it was an open shot, and granted,
it was wide open.
It was wide open, but again, you're always going to come down to it. I don't mind Tatum passing up that. If the Neesmith is the guy who catches the ball on that last position, I feel okay about that because that's his job. That's what he does for a living. He shoots threes, even if he's only been in the league for 10 seconds. Okay.
Wow.
Marcus Smart is fine. He's okay. He's a lifetime 35% three-point shooter. He's fine, but he's still by far clearly the fourth option on the floor.
Agreed.
And it's a good basketball play. And at any other point in the game, nobody's going to say, do you remember that time when the Celtics were tied at 60 in the third quarter and Tatum passed up that shot and gave it to Smart? No one's going to call that out in the third quarter of a tie game, but you are going to always scrutinize it in a late game, end of game situation.
Shouldn't even been there. Like that play.
Fair enough, but I'm just looking at that. Fair or not fair, because people will look at it. And I don't think it was a bad shot, but yeah.
Yeah. So you know my stance. I lean with you in terms of I usually always only want Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or now Kemba Walker taking the shot. In this case, you're not coming out of a timeout. You're coming down the court. You have what? 5 seconds. I forget how many seconds they had. 6 seconds maybe. To get the look that they did, I cannot complain about it. It was a completely clean corner three, high percentage shot from, listen, Marcus Smart, say what you want about him, but that's a shot that he should have hit. He should hit that shot. If Jason Tatum forces up a three, John, you're going to be the first one to criticize him for that wacky 3-point fade away. So
it's not fair. It's not a fair. It's not fair.
No, I know. But so if the shot goes in, it's a great play by the Celtics and Brad, and we're going in. We're talking about how they're going into overtime and.
Yeah, I don't see an alternative either. Yeah, you had two people diving at Tatum, and I think that's why help slid up off Smart. So where was Smart supposed to pass it to? You're down three, so you need to take a three there. There was no other option, really. Now, you could say one of our commenters just said have him on the floor. I don't see why you wouldn't have Smart on the floor in crunch time. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Nah, he's on the floor. Who's on the floor? I mean, if you're saying, you want your best 3-point shooters out there, well, Smart.
What are you gonna do? The 2K 3-point lineup?
Right, exactly.
Here comes Carson.
Again, the only if you want to criticize anybody, you're gonna have to criticize Kemba for the turnover. I mean, Jason Tatum had
a good game,
the huge and one to put them in that position, and the shot just didn't fall. I mean, if the shot falls, it's a completely different story. Marcus Smart's not going to stop shooting. I mean, and honestly, you don't really want your basketball players to be second guessing.
Evidently, he's not, and right. So that brings us again to our
What do you go tonight?
I actually what's funny is I'm getting ripped for saying bad take. I actually, in that situation, think Tatum was better off passing the ball than taking that shot. They blitzed him. It would have been a contested shot with two guys on him. Smart was wide open. Okay,
And
I'm
John,
just bringing it up because it happened, and it's going to get scrutinized.
People think you're bringing it up to give him crap. No, he's just saying what happened.
But right, and I don't mind. I get it because if I raise it as an issue, I'm entertaining the possibility.
Those were the kind of shots they took against Detroit, though. Like Grant took those, Smart took those. It was the same deal when you went.
It was a little bit, but you went stretches. Jalen didn't get the ball enough down the stretch there as well, So I mean, there's these late game execution issues, but you're right. It shouldn't have gotten to that point. I don't think it anyway. But the Smart thing is interesting because of what happened today. So Marcus, by all accounts, for the last 2 games, played his 2 best games of the season. In those games, he shot 8 field goals and 6 field goals. He had 9 and 10 assists, or 9 and 11 assists in those games. Tons of steals, extremely active. Exactly the type of Marcus Smart that you want to see all the time, and everybody was lauding his performance, okay? So then, and we have the stats to back it. There is empirical evidence. Over the last 2 years, when Marcus Smart takes 13 shots or more, the Celtics have a horrible record. When he takes fewer than that, they have a better record. And there's other reasons behind that as well. So, but what's interesting is seeing as he had reduced shots these last couple of games, as you're starting to get your stars back, he was asked about it today in the pregame media availability, like, hey, have you kind of tamped down your shots and your shot selection and this and that? And Marcus was having none of it. So here's what Smart had to say prior to the game on that.
Same thing I've been doing, same thing with my 3-point ability, just continue to shoot the ball, shoot with confidence, not really give a F what anybody says, nor cares about me shooting. I know I get shit a lot, but who cares, and just go out there and continue to do it. My teammates trust me. I believe in myself. I know what I can do just because I'm not doing it every night. We have a stacked team, so a lot of the times the stuff that I do or not doing does go unnoticed. So for me, it's just to keep playing, There's nothing new. There's nothing different that I haven't been doing. Working in the past is just, with those guys out, it was more opportunities for me and to show the skill set. So, like I said, just really going out there and just doing it. Nothing new, just continue to work.
So again,
Testy. Breakfast Club, some kind of interview.
So Testy, so doesn't like being told you should shoot less, even though the evidence says you should shoot less, and the results are there that it's better when you shoot less. And in fact, your field goal percentage over your career for the amount of shots that you take is among the worst in the league. There is no debating that he is one of the worst shooters who shoots 10 or more shots a game in basketball. He has been over his career. Doesn't mean he should never shoot. It just means that he affects the game in so many other ways better than when he's taking a lot of shots. The evidence bears
that's
that
the
out.
thing, John. Like that's not the focal point of the conversation.
He doesn't like hearing it. And then the day that this happens, he goes out and jacks 15 shots when you have the big three, back on the floor, which it just seemed odd to me because if ever there was a day to not do it, you have the big 3 back and Brad played 13 guys. There should have been fewer opportunities to shoot in this game than in any game this season. And he jacked 15 shots.
Josue's got something.
I think you just said it. You just said it yourself, John. Like what he does outside of that, usually or most likely, almost 1,000% outweighs those bad looks, right? So why is this always a focal point? Why is this always a talking point for Celtics fans? Why? Because when everything else is going wrong, it's like the card in the back pocket that every Celtics fan wants to pull out. Oh, this is why they're losing. Oh, this is the problem. Marcus shoots too much, and I think it's just reached a boiling point since the postseason, which was understandably so. And I think Marcus said, okay, let me, go out there and do my thing and not, make such a point of emphasis about that. But then here it comes again. Here's a talking point because why? Because Kemba was out. Oh, because of COVID protocol, a lot of other players were out. Celtics were losing games because those players are out. Oh, well, wait a minute. Look at the stats. Marcus Smart is shooting, 14, 16 shots. Well, why is he shooting so much? Because the other players are out, John. Because half the team is out. Like, yeah, of course.
Why are they
Are you
losing?
lecturing me?
No, I mean, I'm saying
mad
to
at me?
John for all the Celtics fans that sound like John. I'm calling y'all Johns, okay?
Everybody,
You know what I mean?
hop on Joe Sway's back, boys. He's taking you home, okay?
Like this is you're picking at. You know what I mean? Like it's like the go-to complaint, as if it's like the biggest issue the Celtics have right now. It's like the seventh worst. It's like the seventh bad thing the seventh biggest problem. The 10th biggest problem the Celtics have.
He plants that talking point, and the little Johns just take it everywhere, all over the
Johns,
internet.
yeah, the little Johns, yeah. The anti-Marcus, don't you ever think about shooting?
I've been doing this
So
my whole life.
there's more to this than the 3-point percentage too. I get what you're saying. That if this guy's 35% for life, you're going to get 35% on all his shots. But there's something to him playing the role within the offense too. That if he's going to be a threat to take 7, as many as 22 as we've seen him in the past threes, you got to guard that. You have to guard him like he's going to be a threat in those spots, because you never know when it's going to be.
Again, I understand, but I shared this stat the other day. In 2019-2020, when he took 13 shots or more, the Celtics were 8-12 and 2-4 in the postseason last year. When he took fewer than 12 shots last year, they were 31-9. Okay, this year. The numbers were even worse. When he took 13 shots, and I'm going to add today's game to it, when he takes 13 or more, they're 1-5. When he takes 12 or fewer, they're 8-2. I don't know how long over a course of time you need to see these numbers to recognize the Celtics are always worse when Marcus Smart shoots a lot. That's all I'm saying. It is, as a high volume shooter, when you shoot as low a percentage as Marcus Smart does, your team suffers for it. That is a fact, okay? This isn't a hot take. These are just literally, this is empirical evidence. It's not the reason they lost tonight. The reason it rears its head is every time he shoots a lot, they lose, or it usually affects the team adversely. So I don't know how long, how big, like a sample size you need to see, but going over 2 years, it's undeniable. It's not the only problem the team has. It just is a problem that continues to exist from time to time.
Right. So I will, one of the first guys to say that when it's one of those Marcus Smart nights, it's like, oh, here we go, like one of these games. But those stats all sound great, John, and they make your point. They make the point that you're trying to make. But there's got to be some outside factors to it.
Like, Joe Sway mentioned it.
Games where other guys are hurt and he has to, and they're short.
Games where they're already losing and it's not his fault. Of course, they're going to start jacking
that was kind of the case tonight.
Right. So I do think there is a connection there. I mean, there are plenty of games where that is the reason, or one of the main reasons why they lost. Not the reason
they lost tonight.
No. I know, but
as a thing that occurs, it's there. That keeps popping up, and every time we see it, we've had this discussion, and we keep having the discussion because all of these Marcus Smart games end poorly, or so many of them have.
So I would be surprised this season. I think his field goal attempts are going to go down this season because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are another year older and more focal point of the offense. If you do have a healthy Kemba Walker, he's going to obviously take some shots. So I think, by default, I would think and I would hope that Marcus Smart would be taking less shots because those guys are going to be taking more shots. Now, I know that didn't happen tonight, but I think over the course of the season, it'll average out that way. So I'm not concerned about it. I don't want Marcus Smart to, and he won't because it's not his way he plays. I don't want him to start second-guessing shooting the ball. That being said, I don't want him to take 20 shots either. But like tonight, for example, the last play of the game, when he gets the ball in the corner, I don't want him to second guess anything. I want him to be confident the shot's going to go down, whether or not it does or not. Whatever happens. But you can't have your guys lose their confidence in themselves. So
think about how many guys around the league you have to beg to take a shot.
I know, but what's funny with Smart, guys, is he clearly is not afraid to take shots, but you've seen it both in his actions and obviously in his comments here. This is a guy who in college was a scorer, so I totally get it when you're telling a guy, hey, don't you shouldn't shoot, right? And he's like, this is what I grew up playing basketball. I'm a scorer.
Right.
He's a scorer in the NBA.
He believes in himself, and that's a good trait. But what's funny is, ironically, we don't criticize the wide open threes when he gets them late because we're like, that's a good shot. But statistically, if you break down his makes and misses, he's much better on he's one of the top shooters in the league on pull-up threes and contested threes. So he actually is better at making the tough ones. He's pretty bad at open threes.
You see it too. The way he practices, he takes a lot of the tough ones.
Amazingly, right. It's Rondo was the same guy. Rondo was so much better at the shot that he absolutely shouldn't make. But if you left him there for 8 seconds to think about his three and line up his shots and square his feet, he would brick every single one of them. Smart's percentage on wide open threes it's lower than his overall average. He's better at the tough ones. So when you kick it to the corner there, I'm actually expecting a miss way more often than not. Because again, that's just what the numbers are. He is actually remarkable. I think he was top 5 in the league at pull-up threes, not catch and shoot, pull-up. And then this year, he's top 3 in the league in contested threes with a player within 2 to 3 feet of him. So for some reason, he needs that. There are some players who are like that. They need the adversity to kind of clear their mind and say, I don't know, this one probably shouldn't go in anyway. And it frees you up and it makes you looser. And sometimes that's better for you. But Smart's actually not great at open threes. And every time we've had a situation like this, the ball has swung to him for an open three and we say it's a good shot. But again, the numbers actually say for him, it's not.
That's why we like him with the second unit too. He can be in that position more on the ball, playing the pick and roll, taking challenging shots on the ball rather than off the ball. And we still like him taking those off-ball catch-and-shoot threes more just because they're going to be overall more open, more space. No matter how you feel about the shots, you'd still rather have a better shot than a worse shot, even though it seems like he's better at taking the tougher ones. But that could be something we think about with him when it comes to how they're going to adjust this team down the stretch here. And I want to talk a little bit about the centers in this regard too.
Real quick before we go onto the centers, because I want to talk about that too, Bobby. But what do you guys think of Kemba? Because he's catching a bit of heat on the thread here.
He had a worse game than Smart. I felt like he had a
rough game.
Yeah, I didn't love his shot selection. That second quarter, I felt like his offense stalled the entire offense with some of the difficult ones he was taking.
Yeah,
and he can do that too. Smart gets more crap for that, but Kemba's capable of doing that too, taking too many bad shots, hard shots. The long twos, we love them because the big flashy ones stick out, the step back, all that stuff. But you saw the other side of that in that second quarter. There were some launches, some heaves, some stagnant shots with a lead, which this team is always capable of. Doesn't it feel like when they build a double-digit lead, it's just launch city, let it fly, and don't take it to the hole as much, don't generate great shots like they did early in this game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, clearly wasn't one of his better games since his return. But for me, I'm still just looking to see how he's moving out there. And, I'm still pretty confident that he hasn't lost like his game or his ability to play. So when he has a, off shooting night or has a couple of, uncharacteristic turnovers, it's just, shit happens type of thing. For me, I want to see how that knee's responding. I mean, he had the last game off. So, I'm just Joe Sway's like,
here we go. John cursed us.
What happened? That wasn't me.
No, you said we're not going to have any Wi-Fi issues.
I said I wasn't.
You know what's for certain? We got a made bed tonight. Look at that.
Oh,
We've made adjustments.
I said I would relinquish my seat at the table if I had Wi-Fi issues.
Oh, that's true.
Okay. What's remarkable is, and again, it is funny because we spent. Is he back? Is he back?
I don't know.
We can only hope. We don't want another Wi-Fi episode for sure.
Is he really ever?
I can't. I promise we will end the show rather than have another Wi-Fi episode.
Yeah, that was tough to listen to on podcast. I was like, wait, is the show over? Like, it still says there's 20 minutes left. Like,
it was tougher to be here. It really was. It wasn't fun to be a part of.
We just saw that number in the top left corner just go do.
Well, no, for a while what's funny is when the Wi-Fi went out, on my end, it said to me that I was the only person on the air. So I was talking, trying to filibuster, not realizing I was gone. It turned out Joe Sway was the only person on there.
It's a good word. Timely.
Yeah. So the funny thing about Kemba, we just spent all this time on Smart, or I should say I spent the time on Smart. If you want to say I have an agenda, if you want to say I have an agenda, I don't.
What's your thought on Kemba? We want to hear.
But no, the Kemba, I'm still formulating it. His line was identical to Smart's. 14 points on 6 of 15 field goals and 2 of 7 3-point field goals, albeit in 27 minutes.
And he started worse, ended strong, whereas Smart started 6 of 11 and then missed the last 4.
And then missed a bunch. Right. So I don't know. It's again a fit thing, and I'm willing to give it time to figure out how these guys play together again. But they did play together last year, so I don't want to give it that much time. It shouldn't be an issue. But right. I see a lot of people in the chat kind of talking about like there are ball stopping issues with Kemba. For sure. And it is there is a lot of my ball, your ball sort of offense when the three of those guys are on the court together. And that's what bugs me a little. And that's why I suggested a couple of games ago trying to split their minutes where only 2 of them are out there at any given time. And I think Brad did that a bit tonight. I wasn't tracking it fully, but there is when they're all out there together, there is a lot of that my ball, your ball, just cycling through, each person taking turn and not as much movement. So that's what I'm seeing.
See, but that's the thing. I thought I was going to see a lot more of that tonight, believe it or not, guys. I thought we would see more of that bubble style where it was just like, oh, no, you take it. No, you take it. And then,
well, I mean, they only had 15 assists. It wasn't a great night for ball movement.
That's true, but I just think in that third quarter, I thought they found the fix. I knew they would have to fight for it towards the end, but I just think when you see the way, again, I don't know if Jason Tatum would have passed up that shot if this was the bubble. I think he's learned to sort of take a deep breath in those moments and take his time, and it's just unfortunate that Marcus missed the shot. But I mean, yeah, I guess it did. The ball did slow down a bit, and Kemba. That rust is going to be there. We haven't really seen a whole lot of rust outside of that very first game where we were just looking at the eye test, and he passed out with flying colors. I wasn't necessarily going to give him slack for what the box scores looked like, even though some people did because of the way the Celtics were crushed that day. But I mean, look, I can see him bouncing back. I'm not that concerned about it. Again, it's more about the eye test right now, and at least you're seeing that bit of momentum that we saw out of him in his last couple of outings.
Brad Stevens is going to have to get creative with this trio here. They're all ball dominant. They're all playmakers on the ball.
There's no Hayward.
And Kemba especially is a guy who has never in his career gotten off the ball, done action, taking catch and shoot threes. This is what I talked about. It's a whole different dynamic now. The starters, the personnel's the same, but Jaylen Brown is in a completely different situation now versus in the playoffs last year. You have to empower Brown on the ball as a secondary playmaker.
Ball more. They have to have the ball.
You saw it tonight.
That's what killed me. You had Brown taken out of the game for periods of time.
That's what they did at the beginning of the fourth. They took Brown out. They took Tatum on. They tried to get Kemba some run there. And then
when he was out there were too many possessions where he didn't have the ball in his hands, and that drives me crazy. And that's the problem is to get Kemba cooking, you got to let him dance around, dribble, get to his spot and eat 10 to 12 seconds of a shot.
He's going to be a challenge for the rest of this year when they're all healthy. It's going to be,
it's going to be a challenge too to see how
it only works with Kemba if he's shooting lights out. He has to have high.
Well, to your point, I think the one thing
15 guy, if he's shooting 40% from the field on high volume, you're right. It becomes a Marcus Smart situation, but he's holding the ball for even longer, and that can really stop your offense. That's the concern. Is he has to be more efficient. You're starting to worry if this was a good player, bad team syndrome sort of situation with what you were getting with him coming off of Charlotte, where it was like, well, if I don't shoot it, nobody's going to shoot it. But when he's here, it's finding that role, exactly what he's supposed to be. But you also need to get him moving. Josue, sorry, you were going.
No, I was just going to say, it's going to be interesting to see how Brad, his approach with this whole thing, because, I mean, we knew it beforehand, but Brad sort of confirmed it today where he said this whole, notion, or at least people thinking that Kemba's going to be ramped up to 30 minutes. I mean, that's not ideal. So I think Brad has to tweak these lineups and sort of pick his spots when to put Kemba into the lineup and when to mix and match him. And I think it's going to be difficult for Kemba, to get used to that. But the one thing I think is going to be an advantage for Kemba is that he's one of those players where if he's got it going, if he's scoring, 6-7 points in a row, but he has to take that breather, he can still hold on to that momentum. He can sit on the bench to the side for a little bit, come back in, and still, continue to score for you. But to your point, John, he may have to hold the ball for a little bit. He may have to take on a 2 or 3 possessions where he has the ball in his hands for at least 7 or 8, seconds to get himself back into the rhythm of things. So yeah, I mean that's going to be tough for Brad to sort of have to figure things out, and I think it makes it really hard when you don't have Pritchard in the mix. I know he's a rookie. I know he doesn't have a whole lot of experience under his belt, but man, that guy when he's out there facilitating, it's just a different team. It's a different identity, completely different compared to someone like Jeff Teague when he had the ball in his hands tonight. I mean, man, how many times did we get a text message from John guy saying, "Stop holding the ball, get the ball out of Teague's hands"?
That dude,
yeah.
I'm with you.
Oh my God.
They miss Pritchard, man. We forget Pritchard.
We do miss
He's that
Pritchard.
guy.
Yeah.
He's that guy. That's his role now.
That's a good point. Forgot about him with the absence the last few weeks. Jimmy, you mentioned it. 15 players getting real minutes. I don't think I've ever seen it. There were some weird things that happened in this game. The back and forth swings, the 10 straight buckets, but 15 players getting real minutes the way they did. I mean, that was never possible before this
15?
year because – am I counting right?
13.
No, 13 active, 15 total.
No, 15 were active, 13 played. Taco and Waters.
I think
yeah, 13.
Taco and Waters did not play. Single digits for Neesmith, Edwards, and Teague.
13, yep. So 15 were active, 13
played.
got minutes.
Yeah, Javante got 13, and Grant actually got 11 after not really playing for the first almost full 3 quarters. So, he got his. What's funny is, yeah, I mean, and then Tice has to stop freaking fouling, man. Like, I know he gets.
I'm so done. I'm done. The war on Tice isn't real.
I think his record, guys.
But I know there are bad calls that he does not get the benefit of the doubt on anything, but he's also an idiot. Like, he clearly does fouly things that he just shouldn't do. That's just that little extra flourish, or that you can't do some of the things that he does, and they whistle him every time. It's his
only weakness. It's his only
weakness. He's got to be more
disciplined
disciplined than that. It's embarrassing. Some of the calls are terrible, but some of them are like, dude, that's obviously a foul. Like, don't do that. He does it all the time.
Well, I think the calls that are bad that go against him are on the offensive end of the floor where he gets fouled, on that dunk at the end of the game there where he just plowed through Podol in the restricted zone. That's another tough name to say. I got some crap for saying the MMA guy's name wrong there. Poirier. Does anyone?
Because you were thinking of Portier.
I was thinking of Vincent Poirier from France, but this is an American.
Any of these well.
This is an American version. So Jakob Pertl.
Jakob Pertl.
Vincent.
Jakob Pertl fouled him there. It looked like, but defensively he fouls like crazy. Well, last year he was one of the 10 permanent foulers, top 10 permanent foulers in the league. I haven't looked at the number this year. Probably lower because he's not playing as much, but. It derailed them. That first unit, the starters from last year, I was so excited to get that rolling. And 4 minutes in, he's on the bench, and Thompson ends up playing 22. And there were stretches where I liked Thompson in this one, but it was hard to justify him unless it's the COVID stuff coming into play with Rob. 22-13, the way they were playing. Like Rob was just playing better than him. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
John, would you trade Marcus Smart for Patty Mills?
I know that's a drum you were trying to bang on the chat thread. You're not
Patty Mills just.
I like Marcus Smart. I just don't like certain versions of Marcus Smart.
No, okay, Patty Mills.
Okay, no, wait until
another 5'10" guard.
When the trade deadline's around the corner, oh man, I can't wait to hear John trying to get rid of Smart.
Smart is not an untouchable player in my mind.
Okay? I know. I'm just saying you're gonna be tooting that horn, in about three weeks or so.
For the right,
why trade Smart for like a package that got you a legitimate wing player, and I can't think of who that would be right now.
Yes,
a healthy one.
What I'm thinking of.
For a Wiggins?
No.
Stop it.
Wiggins is alive again this year.
A Gordon Hayward?
Would you trade for Hayward? Yeah.
I'll take a thing.
How about this? Would you trade Kemba for Terry right now?
No. I don't know why. I don't know why it took so long to answer that, but no.
If you get Terry, you'll never get a shot out of Tatum or Brown again. He'll just
Ever.
take them all.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Ever.
Here's one more question. What's
Terry shirts are coming back.
Greg
Terry's
Popovich's-
career splits aren't great either from the field.
Greg
No.
Popovich's
Well,
hair.
they were terrible
Keep it or,
last year
keep it or
here.
cut it.
Huh?
Pop's hair. Keep it or cut it. Starting
Yo,
to
Cut it.
throw that
He's
out.
like scary old. He's scary old
Yeah,
man in the woods
he's
with a
starting to
shotgun.
scare
Right?
you.
Yeah, he creeped me out for a second. I'm not gonna lie.
So I follow a lot of
He's got
Spurs
the hair
fans.
from Tales of the Crypt guy a little bit.
Spurs fans have turned on
I
Pop.
must have
It's
been
like
the Bobby guy. I got creeped out.
last 3 years have been like Bill Belichick this year in New England. They are
Really?
not happy with Pop's performance.
Yeah. You know,
Wow.
I don't know Pop's relationship with the media there. Like, I know his shtick is to kind of be tough, but I don't know if it's tough, but like they still like each other, or it's tough
Right.
like they're afraid of him, like with Belichick. You know, but if it is like Belichick, I can see why they turn, because like
They've been bad.
when you're kind of a jerk, the people who cover you, they'll give you the benefit of the doubt for as long as you're awesome and untouchable. But as soon as it goes, that leash is really, really short, and they will turn fast. So you can't have like consecutive down years if you're one of these guys, because the people will eat you up.
Have you
Oh,
been
yeah.
to San
They've
Antonio?
been waiting to crap on you for all of these years, but they can't because you keep winning year after year after year. So, Pop's one of those untouchable guys where it's like he's undeniably the best coach in the league, so you can't say anything bad about him until they have a couple of crap years, and then you can be like, well, you know, he's slipping.
Yeah.
That
What
team-
team, Bobby?
I'm not walking through that door anymore.
I was asking John if he's been to San Antonio.
Me, no.
I've been to the city. I haven't been to the arena.
Is it nice?
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that.
I heard they got good food.
Texting about San Antonio with a buddy of mine watching the game tonight. There's one small area of San Antonio that's cool. It's called Riverwalk. So if you're ever in San Antonio,
yeah,
that's
everyone talks
where
about
you'll
Yeah.
you'll end up. A lot of good places to eat there.
Oh
Kind of
shit,
cool.
it happened.
After that, oh wow. Oh, Marcus Smart commenter.
It happened. We had Miles Turner on the threat last time demanding an apology cam for Bobby, and now Marcus Smart's coming after me.
Next time you
That's
interview
exactly
me.
how you would say it too. Stop disrespecting me.
I haven't been in any of those. I haven't.
Exactly what Marcus Smart would say.
Have you ever interviewed?
Yeah, tons of times.
Really?
I mean, I've been in a million post games where I've,
What have you asked them tough questions?
I'll ask anybody any question. I'm not afraid of that.
Have you asked about his shooting?
I love that.
No, I'm afraid to do that.
Yeah, come on. That's crazy talk.
He literally gets a question about shooting every press conference, so I'm not stunned he's kind of blowing his top.
I would be too, man, because you know why? Because it's know-nothing idiots like us who are criticizing him. Like, I get it. These guys are geniuses. They've been doing this for their whole lives. They understand the game at a much deeper level than most people who are covering them, ourselves included, of course, and every media type that's in front of their faces asking them shit. And they're like, you only understand a fraction of what I understand about this game. So you're almost not. The fact that they answer any questions actually surprises me, because none of us have the right.
Especially the basketball questions.
None of us have the right to ask any questions because we don't have a deep enough understanding of the game as they do. I know you hate when they play the "Have you ever played the game" card, but there's so much more that goes into it than most people are able to comprehend, and it is frustrating when you're at the height of you're one of the best in the world at what you do, and you've got friggin',
John Zanis over here with his, if you look at the percentages,
my stats show me
how much that must drive Marcus crazy.
I get it.
Yeah. You're one of the worst shooters in the history of the game, Marcus. Just your thoughts on that.
According to the stats, I don't know if you know this, Marcus, but it's like, dude, you think he's thinking about that? Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like you feel for the guy. You feel for the guy.
There is something like, I know John's got the stats and it's all true. Like, we have a big sample size of his shooting at this point, and it is.
Oh, they're talking about those reporters because we got a big sample size of those too.
Oh yeah.
It's not John. It's far from John. Yeah, trust me.
You want to start going in on Celtics reporters?
But I don't know if it's some of the big shots he's hit or just he takes so many, so we've seen him hit a lot, or even just how it looks, because his shot does look good at this point. Like, it's smooth, it's thorough, it's gotten better over time. I just have confidence when he shoots. I really do. Like, I'm past the point where I'm like, oh no, when he fires one up. That corner one looked decent at the end of the game. It just hit the front of the rim and bounced out there. There's just something here. I don't know how Joe Sway and Jimmy feel about that, because they believe in his shot a little more than John does, it seems. There's something there that inspires confidence in me.
It's the gutsy,
the
he's
assertiveness. He doesn't even think.
Right. But obviously we've seen the other side of that. And obviously I'm getting flashbacks of the bubble. Like, it was like every single Marcus Smart naysayer was like they're speaking truth for months ahead of time, and it's like the biggest "I told you so" I ever heard from those guys. And I was like, okay, well, I think Marcus is in a space, and it's part of his he's a veteran in this game, that he's going to be able to correct that, and I think he has. But again, when things go wrong, when there's deficiencies in the offense, it's always easy to point out, oh well, look at Marcus, look how many shots he took. He took 15. He should have took.
There are those games though. Those are the games we all know which games that like John's talking about, and we can all remember games where it's like, why is he shooting the ball so much? Why isn't he get it to Jalen, get it to Jason? Like, he shouldn't be taking more shots than these guys. Like, there are those games, and that's when I step in and say, okay, I'm not on board with this. The other games, like, you can't just force 25 points, 25 shots.
25 in one of those games, but yeah.
Yeah, but there are games where like you just know right off the bat it's gonna be one of those games.
Daniel Tyson's in the chat.
What the hell? This is quick. The game just ended. Funniest thing that ever happened.
They're watching us in the locker room.
Why did John call me an
idiot?
Funniest thing that ever happened to me.
They're watching at the hotel.
Shane Larkin back in the day, he had a rough first half in one of the games. So I tweeted his plus minus or something. It was like a minus.
Oh, man. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And so he comes back. They play him again the second half. He has a really good second half, and he got it to 0. It was the minus 10 and then plus 10. And I swear it was like within 5 minutes of the game ended. Must have been within 2 minutes of getting into the locker room. He found the tweet. I didn't even tag him. I just wrote the name. Tweeted back and said, plus 10 in the second half. Keep the faith, fella. I was like, oh my. It was so quick after the game. I couldn't believe it. Like, he must have beelined to his phone. Someone must have sent it to him, or he just searched his name, and he responded within minutes.
Yeah, no, he was definitely that guy who would search his name and go through every single comment, because I remember you would see his name and his tweets pop up immediately after the game, and he would either be responding or retweeting stuff. And I swear, like Tatum, like Brad Stevens would still be doing his presser. Like, it would be right after the game, and he was on Twitter just like
someone would have to do the Obama pull the phone away meme there.
Yeah, I think that was the same year that these guys were getting in trouble. I think Terry Rozier put something on his snap, and like Marcus, that whole thing happened with that IG girl called him out. He was in his DMs and all that. It was a mess. And then I
forgot about Marcus in the mirror.
Well, that was a whole nother issue, but no, this is before that.
Yeah.
Brad, he didn't say the specifics of it, but he said that they had a brief chat about appropriate, behavior on social media.
Terry did not give a damn about that.
No, he didn't.
Whatever you wanted to do, he was doing online.
Yeah, a lot of cloudy snaps and IG stories, if you will. I'll leave it at that.
Oh man, those teams were fun though. Personalities through the roof.
Terry, you have a game tomorrow, bro.
One of our commenters, Hans Molman, who I love, was here every game, did point out 29-33 for the Pacers. For the Spurs.
You keep saying Pacers.
I know. For the Spurs,
this game was the exact same as the Pacers game.
For the Spurs in the paint, the amount of easy buckets those guys had. Holy wow! Even when the Celtics were cutting that lead down in the third, every bucket San Antonio had was an uncontested layup.
I don't understand it at this point. I've been pushing this all year. Where's the defense on this team? Yeah. It's everybody. Smart, Tice with the fouls, Brown getting torched.
Awful.
And credit to Brown for the offensive burst he's had to start this year, but even he said he's not getting it done defensively the way he should be. Tatum's been solid. I won't kill him. He's always locked in on the team effort. But this team, they were top 5 a year ago, and now not only on the offensive end are they getting teams rolling in transition by throwing the ball away themselves, which Smart talked about pregame too, but their defense isn't connected. Cutters, rim protection, you just mentioned it, torch in the paint. I think a lot of that's on Tristan Thompson and the heavy minutes he had to play tonight. This is just bad defensively. And I don't know if they're going to need a trade or a jolt, but we're how many games? 15, 16 in now?
Yes,
It's getting a ways through there. I've seen 1, maybe 2 games that have impressed me defensively from this team. So, again, we're talking about should Smart shoot, who's taking the shots.
2 really good defensive games. I'm with you on that, yeah.
Well, what about
And none of
Bobby,
the offensive stuff matters if they're not going to defend.
your thoughts on them going to zone?
Why not? It worked.
Is it a
I'm
panic
surprised they
move?
didn't go back to it. It's like, hey, that's what got
I
you.
know for a
back
while
into
we
the
were like,
game,
oh
right?
my God, we did the zone thing that everyone's going to overreact to, Celtics did zone. Minds are blown. Oh my God.
Brad did his own little version of it.
Brad did a little zone.
I'm
Take
just
that,
so
Toronto.
Tristan Thompson in the thread.
I'm
Oh, wow.
so
He had a big putback. He
He
had a
would
big,
be, he would
2-point.
be mad apologetic too. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm terribly sorry at how bad I've been.
that signing is just bummed me out so far. I thought he was gonna change the defense. I thought they could be a number 1 defense with the way he has played inside in his career and his defensive rebounding stuff and all that.
You really did.
They've gone in the opposite direction, and he's been a big part of it. He made one great stop on Murray or Johnson, one of them at the end underneath there, but otherwise it was just torch city.
And even though he grabs boards, how many times is he just that little engine that's just too short, and he's jumping and tapping and he's just getting out tapped, and then he doesn't get the rebound? It happens so many times tonight. Like, his effort is there. I mean, it's absolutely there. It's just
I don't know what happened.
there's just not enough results. And he is having some games where he is grabbing some boards. He had 9 tonight, but it just he's had issues with the putbacks all the time. So
how about the play where he dropped the air ball and they almost called the turnover, but the shot clock saved him?
Yeah.
You know who looked good? Aldridge. Get Aldridge here. But I don't know if the Spurs are going to do it. The Spurs are all in now.
They want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're all in now.
We stopped talking about this game. We talked about this game for a while.
Thompson.
Let's talk about
Thompson
something else.
stopped at the end of the game, but he's not going to be that. He's not going to be the enforcer all game long, or at least not completely shut down the best opposing big.
I'll be stunned if the Celtics don't make a trade this year.
Same.
So let me ask you this, for real.
Should Marcus Smart have taken that shot?
Should Marcus Smart? Let's go back to the only thing that matters.
Seriously, guys.
Let's get back on point. Marcus Smart. No, for real. This is what happens. They win a couple games. Everything looks good. Chat's filled with a bunch of positive people. This is the best team in the East, going to the finals, blah, blah, blah. Jalen Jason, MVP, 1-2. And then you have this crap game, and everyone's like, trade everybody, and Brad sucks. Like, I get it.
No, we've mentioned the negatives there and the wins,
but
too.
Beyond that, for real, if you had to look at this team just after what we've seen, snapshot, 17 games at this point, is there anything you would, now that you've got most of the pieces in place, granted Pritchard will come back, Romeo eventually, we'll see what we have. Is there anything you would do differently? You did see tonight, for example, Tice seemed to jump ahead of Thompson. For the first time, we get to see what the lineup would look like. That was a decision Brad had made. It looks like Tice is running with the first unit. Thompson is in unit 2. Anything you would do dramatically different than what's being done or what we think is going to be done right now? And that could include Smart or even Kemba to the bench, Rob Williams into the starting rotation, anybody else coming into the rotation earlier, someone dropping out of it. Anything that you guys see right now that you think, let's try something else? Or is this just going to be we know who the best players are. We're going to play Brad's going to play different combos of them on every single night. And it's just going to come down to that. But ultimately it's going to be the big 3, whatever big seems to be rolling that night, dependent on matchups, and then whatever else you get out of bench guys. Is that where we are? Or is there anything else, any other combos, any other different things you see? I mean, I've always been in favor of more Rob minutes, but I am worried that when you get Rob into the 20s or whatever, you start to see more of his warts, and he might be better in small doses. But
I think at least right now, you keep him in that 13 to 15 range.
Rob Williams should be playing more minutes. I'm always going to come back to that.
I think you keep him in that 13 to 15 range, and you have a lot of tough teams coming up, especially in the West Coast, or at least the Lakers game is going to be in Boston. But after that, they head out west, and those obviously going to be some bigger size up there. So it's going to be a challenge for Williams, and I think you don't want to just throw him in there and give him 20 minutes. I think he's good where he's at, and he'll certainly capitalize off of that. Thompson, I don't think this is going to sit well with him. I think Bobby's going to have himself. He's going to be giving us crap, or at least celebrating at some point throughout this West Coast road trip. Because I think he's gonna find his groove, and he's gonna be able to contribute more often. But in terms of the starting five, I mean, I don't see any drastic change that needs to happen.
I like the starters tonight.
Yeah, I like the starters tonight, and I think that's the way you keep it. And in terms of the second unit, the usual suspects. I want to see some more Neesmith, but for the most part, I mean, Williams, Robert Williams, a little Javante, and hope that T can get out of this little funk or whatever you want to call it that he's in. And
Jacob Portal.
What's up?
He called him Jacob Portal.
So yeah, again,
Tacos
when this team, when Pritchard returns, I think you'll get a better sense of what this team is going to look like identity wise. But this is we talked about this last episode. This is a good place to be in for the Celtics because. Yeah, Kemba didn't look great, but he's out there, he's getting his reps in, and he's got his boys back. The three guys are back together.
Oh man, that's too funny in the comments.
Okay, I want more, Rob. What about you?
I want more, Rob too. 13 is low. I mean, take the kid gloves off.
It's the COVID stuff, I think.
I don't know. I think it's the three big
stuff.
I think it's avoiding two big lineups, now having all three of your best players back and playing those guys more minutes. And you've just, the rotation's now tough. Unless you're playing two bigs on the floor for large chunks of time, one of those guys is going to end up with 10, 12 minutes every single night.
Play Rob, get his value up. Get see what you got. When are you going to see what you got with this guy? You're just going to play him 13 minutes for the rest of his career? 13 minutes a game? That's why you drafted him? I don't think so. I mean, he's not 9 years old. Like, this guy's he's an adult. He can play 15, 20, low 20 minutes. I want to see that. I want to see what they've got with him. Get him out there, pick and roll, whatever, the lobs. So that's one thing I want to see.
Embrace the roll of gravity, Jimmy.
Exactly. Gravitational pull per game. I want to see that. And I'm still waiting to see if Romeo's ever going to play this year. I think that could possibly change things.
You know me, I'm all in on Romeo. I just think on that big rotation, I'm trending towards Thompson playing the least minutes of those three, and I have been for a while now that Rob is back. I want to see Tristan playing the fewest minutes of those three.
Uh-oh.
I like Tristan.
I don't think that's going to be the case for the Lakers matchup, though. Come on, let's get into that real quick because let's face it, you're gonna need that muscle. You're gonna need a little more muscle from Tristan. If I'm Brad, I'm like,
he's not providing it though. That's the problem.
These are the champs.
You're supposed to do, you're not getting.
Champs, John. If you don't deliver against the champs,
are we gonna fight again?
What? If I'm Brad, I'm like, what do I have you here for? If you're not gonna give me your best against the champions.
I forgot the Lakers are next. That's gonna be ugly if they don't defend.
Mr. Oh, I'm the only one in the locker room here with a ring. Like, come on, let's see it. This is it. If I'm Brad, I'm like, you show it to me now, or I'm gonna start cutting your minutes.
It's inexplicable, and he has to at some point. I'm all for building him up, ramping him up, letting him get in the flow of things now. The excuses with him are valid, but to a point. Right now, we've seen Tice pass him, which wasn't expected coming in. Tice struggled mightily to start the year, and when Tice got ahead of him, they gave Tice the extra minutes. Tonight excluded because of the fouls. If Rob just keeps getting it done behind him, you have to make the move at some point. I trust Brad will, but there's a patience. There's a bigger picture here that Joe Sway mentioned. You want him involved when the big matchups come, when he's playing elite centers and they need some strength. I do think he's going to be an important piece in the playoffs. John,
he better be.
Why did they lose in the playoffs last year? There's a reason
not because this version of Tristan Thompson wasn't on the team. I'll tell you that.
I think he would have made all the difference in that series.
I'm sorry, it's not.
I'll never.
Definitely not. Maybe a version of Tristan Thompson that once existed. Not this guy playing.
Stopping
right
Bam.
now.
We wouldn't even get Game 7. We were still same result. Same result.
Hey,
Game six.
I'll never.
You could have had 11 Tristan Thompsons on the roster last year. I don't think it would have made a difference.
Well, Hayward would have having Hayward in general would have helped too.
yeah,
But
I think it would have taken Hayward.
if you pulled Hayward out and put Thompson in that series, I think you would have seen some difference. Maybe not a flip of the series, as Josue says, but I'll never forget Game 6, Tice following out with like 6 minutes to go, and Brad just literally not knowing what to do at center because Rob was so bad, Cantor was so bad, and Grant was his top choice at that point. He was the backup center by the end of that series.
Bam was taking his 20th free throw on the night in the early fourth quarter.
They lost that series because of the center position. So I think there's a bigger picture here, depending on the matchup. Now, Philly's looking like the beast in the East to start this year. We'll see if they end up being the favorite, but we have good Tristan minutes against Giannis. We have bad Tristan minutes against Embiid. I still think he's going to be an important piece going forward, but at some point, if it's this bad, and it's been brutal to start the year, I wrote about it for Celtics blog this morning, the numbers are just horrifying. You got to make the move because Rob is getting it done. How good was Rob again tonight? His minutes were as active
Instant
as
energy. I jokingly texted on that thread that the first 60 seconds he was on the court was better than Thompson's last 6 games. Okay,
yep. And he's rebounding better than Thompson too.
Put back improbable alley-oop slam, alters another shot, all in the first like 10 seconds he was out there.
What did he do rebounding? Didn't he have like a 10 rebounding quarter early in the year?
He did that quarter where he didn't play at all, and then he came out in the fourth and he just friggin' it was all in the fourth quarter.
Again tonight, 7 rebounds in 13 minutes. I mean, that's impressive.
Mad Brad. Mad Brad, full effect.
Wow, I'm the biggest fan of Brad. That's
I know
surprising.
Bobby's his defender. I can't believe that. I don't know how I escaped that.
I guess it shows unfair.
Yeah.
Trade for me. He could be available.
Speaking of the
not
Lakers,
good, though. He's not good.
Speaking of the Lakers, they
the wing market's not going to be great. It's like over the off season. There aren't a lot of great available wings in the league right now because they're so valuable. And so you can acquire a guy who stinks, but he's not going to make any difference.
Let me ask you guys a question. This is a serious question. Let's say hypothetically there was all right, let's say hypothetically there's the numbers go down and the arenas are back open again and TD Garden's full, ready to go for Celtics and Lakers. Would the the Kardashian effect, would that benefit Tristan right now, or would it make things worse?
having her courtside.
Yeah, like just the whole show, because you know that would be going on right now.
Feels like Jimmy's question.
I think it would help him.
I think it would help him too.
I'm going Jimmy solo cam. They're calling for it.
Do you have insight on that?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about all that stuff.
Oh well, what do you want to know? I mean, I'll tell you all about the Kardashians. But I mean, listen, and it's not just a Tristan Thompson thing. I think any NBA player likes to see their family in the stands or their friends in the stands. But Tristan Thompson being around the Kardashians as long as he has, and being away from them now for as long as he probably has, Kim K will just would maybe want to show up a little bit more for it. But that isn't to say that I don't think he's trying as hard as he can. I just think that, like John said, he's a little slow right now. He's a little behind. And I'm not giving up on it. I did like the signing when it happened. I just didn't like it nearly as much as comparing it to Miles Turner, who we won't talk about that because that's already over and done with. But
Man.
I will have a Kardashian cam ready for the next show.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think it would help him, man. I think it put him more in the spotlight. He'd be like, all right, pressure's on.
Dude.
I got this.
Wait, so is
The
the
TD
show
TD
is
Garden-
that show still going? Do they still do the Kardashian show?
I
Gonna be
think
in
this
his
is the
last
last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Is
Right?
Tristan
season,
is Tristan still in it? We might have to
Yeah.
start watching.
He makes
he-
cameos.
Well, he's not that. He would be in it more often if things were. You'd see the cameras in Boston more often.
Well,
Oh, and
thing
it's
is,
the last season. That's a killer. That would have been fun.
TD Garden gets they get like most of the stars they get are like just like local athletes. They don't. I mean, sometimes you get like Gucci. Like I think
Gucci Mane, for Jalen.
Yeah, you get like a celebrity because they're there for a show. What's
Yeah,
what's funny?
once in a while though. Like
I just thought of this right now.
bring the Kardashian factor.
Didn't Meek Mill come?
Take it up a notch.
Well, yeah, yeah, that too. But no,
Yeah,
I was
he
thinking
came.
about when Snoop was there for the Lakers game because he was
He came to Boston?
in Boston, yeah, at the House of Blues. I saw him in the hallway, and I go, hey Snoop, Lakers gonna win it all this year? He goes, of course, man, of course we're gonna win it all, and they fucking won it all.
Pass you a blunt.
I just remembered this.
Who's more likely to get kicked out of TD Garden, Kyrie and his smoke, or Snoop and his?
Yeah. Nah, Snoop can do whatever he wants.
Snoop can do whatever he wants, wherever he wants.
Yeah.
What cracked me up, it was halftime, and I'm like, dude, what time did your show start? Like, what time are you gonna get there?
Yeah.
Hey.
We had him on. We did an interview with him covering one Super Bowl a long time ago. He was there repping for Willie McGinnis.
Was he?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was like, who are you rooting for? Snoopy goes, come on, man, Patriots. Willie McGinnis, Long Beach finest.
No, actually, you know what? When they did the,
I was like, oh, it was great.
When Dr. Dre, when they did the tour, they recorded it in Boston, and he had nothing but Patriots gear on. Yeah, now you just reminded me. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Long Beach finest. He was pals with Willie.
We gotta talk Lakers.
Right. He didn't hop on the bandwagon. He was a fan of Willie first, and then became
Yep, Willie. So anyway, all right, let's get into it before we wrap up the show. Lakers. Everyone always gets worried about these. I usually think the Celtics put their best foot forward in these sorts of games. So I love it. I love these big test games. I'm actually pretty optimistic for this, but it's fun to see. Lakers lost tonight. It was Tobias Harris buzzer beater.
Yeah. So LeBron hit Davis on a cut. Lakers were down big and came back. They took a lead with 7 seconds left, and then Harris got into the lane and hit a jumper for the win.
Yep.
What was I gonna say? I already forget.
Lakers are really good this year. I think that was their first road loss. They started 7-0.
It was their first road loss. They're really good, as we said prior to the season. Better than last year.
You saw what LeBron did.
All agreed with except for Bobby.
Yeah, I was wrong about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby. What was up with that, man?
I didn't like
What's
the centers.
his name there? What's his name is nasty for them.
Harrell?
No, the guard.
Pope?
Nope. Schroeder.
Yes.
He's good.
That's an upgrade from Ron.
They got him for free, too. That team's pretty loaded with depth. They defend like crazy.
Much more depth than last year.
I'd say, and they have great personnel, too, to cover the Celtics. You can throw Davis on Tatum. You can throw LeBron on Brown. And you got some defensive guards there, too, between Pope and Schroeder, who are going to be able to go at Kemba and Smart. So the Celtics, they're not going to be able to compete in this game unless they defend in turn, because the offense isn't going to come easy. The Lakers aren't slacking this season whatsoever, even though they had the short layoff and LeBron coming back after 60 days or whatever it was. They're going full speed. Maybe they want to touch that Warriors record. That could be what they're going for. Maybe LeBron wants to win MVP after not winning it for a bunch of years now. But
what Warriors record?
The record, 73 wins.
Are they going to do that in a 72
It'll be really
season?
hard in a 72-game season.
Or winning percentage,
Good luck.
I guess. Yeah. I guess that one's out of the window.
I'm going to take the under.
Yeah. I'm ready for Caruso. That's who I want to see. Screw LeBron. I'm ready for the Caruso show, man.
I just think every time these two teams come together, at least in the last couple of years, Tatum it's like a challenge. It's not just a challenge. It's a I can make history against the Lakers type of thing, right? Because after what happened at Staples Center,
they played them really well last year. In fact, they blew them out in the Garden.
Yeah, I mean, look, it came in a losing effort, but that game in LA,
that was great. That was Tatum's like
that's my favorite Tatum performance.
National TV coming out party.
My favorite performance from Tatum, and I think
you were out there for that
the occasion again. What's up?
You were out there for that.
That's right. Yeah, I was. And let me tell you guys something, man. Like being in that locker room, like it didn't feel like a loss. It was weird. It was like they were just like, I know it sounds really bad to say it, but it was like they were just kind of like, yeah, great game,
All right, so
that's
my next question while we assess this team. I'll start with Jimmy. Like,
thank you.
Is this the stage? Like, is this where we are? They've gone off to a great start. They're top 2 in the East. Are we back to this team has to make the finals? Like, is this where they are in their development? They lost Hayward, but young guys are filling in. Because last year when they played the Lakers hard and they had the 4 stars and they were rolling through the playoffs, they had to get to the finals. But this year is a little different.
It's a good question. I think the expectations are. I don't think you can lower them from last year. So with that being said, I mean, like you said, you did lose Hayward, but you expected Brown and Tatum to improve. You had Kemba coming back, but you weren't sure how healthy he was going to be. So if he is healthy and you see the improvement from those 2 stars, I'm not going to say that it's NBA Finals or bust, but it's certainly Eastern Conference Finals for me. I don't know if they are better than the Sixers. In the playoffs last year, they murdered them, so we'll see which team shows up, I guess, in the playoffs. The Heat are iffy. They've got some health things going on too. It's a wide open East. So with that being said, I mean, I would be pretty disappointed if they didn't put a serious charge into getting into the NBA Finals. I don't know if that's a cop-out answer, but it's kind of how I feel.
That quote from Brad. I saw one quotation mark.
Yeah, I think because of the Kemba injury and the way things started off, I think you look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets, like what's going to happen there. I don't know if
the Nets
season ends in the Eastern Conference Finals, if that's necessarily a failure, but of course it depends how they go about it, right? I mean, last season it was sort of easy to say that, but at the same time it was sort of like, man, what a golden opportunity, the Celtics topped
right.
the Sixers. They didn't have to play the Bucks. Like that was sort of the ideal path to the NBA Finals, and of course it came up short. So I felt like there's a lot more disappointment in that run as opposed to what's going to happen ahead, because you look at how much better other teams got around the Celtics, but yeah, Miami's obviously there. I still have Miami up there. Philly's up there, and Brooklyn. Those are my 3. I still have some outside of those 3. So
Miami's in a big hole.
I still like Indy. You guys know I'm Indy guys. So I'm not saying the Celtics are front runners to get there. I'm just saying I would still be, especially I think the organization, the players would be disappointed if they didn't, get to the Eastern Conference Finals with the team they have. So I'm not saying that they're playing at that level right now, but I think that they are capable of. So I guess we'll see as we get closer down the stretch. But
yeah, the talent's there.
The talent's there, but there's holes, and you see them in the wins and the losses. I don't know if it's something that you just have to keep developing as the season goes on and get comfortable with each other, and what we talk about with Thompson. And, Teague comes into this too. I think at some point Teague's going to get cut, and they're going to find someone else better to come in here because he's just not getting it done. But they need to make some changes as this year goes on, because as constructed, I worry about the holes with this team. I worry about some of the things that could get exposed come playoff time, whether we talk about Tyson's fouling or the depth, the size, the rebounding, defense, some of these things, even the turnovers early on. But that's something that's probably just naturally going to get fixed as the year goes on. But John said it, highs with wins, lows with losses. But I do think we look at this team right now and say they've been great. The record's awesome. They've exceeded expectations, but there's big, big glaring issues behind the scenes that lead to a night like this and some of the other sloppier nights that they've had. And even Chicago the other night. Great win overall, an awesome effort, but some massive, massive lapses that could have sent that one the other way.
On a happy note, I will remind everybody that this happened last time the Lakers were at the Garden.
Ah.
Takes a timeout. 81-63 Boston. This is how you attack a shot blocker. Hello. Welcome back. We know you've been hurt. Looks like you got some rest. Jaylen Brown.
So good.
I couldn't see it. I don't know what.
I didn't see it. Did everyone else see it? I could imagine it.
You couldn't see it?
No.
Could you just hear it?
John's face.
It's a black screen.
I thought
I could see or hear anything.
That's the glitch. That's the glitch the thing was telling me about, something about my Chrome. Did we see the Marcus Smart bite?
I heard it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Video Video glitch. We'll fix it for next time.
I thought it was just me, but I think everybody else saw it because no one complained about the Marcus Smart one.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I think the audio's coming through, but the video's got an issue.
Yep, that's what it was.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah.
We'll fix it for next time. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Bummer to not have the fans. The fans freaking love these games. Somebody made a comment in the comments about Jaylen Brown. Have you noticed he's not dunking anymore?
No.
How many times has he had an open look and chose that? A couple of times tonight he didn't have it. How much of that is like you can't fire up a crowd with a dunk anymore, so why waste your energy?
Yeah, why like hit the wrists and everything like that, you know?
I didn't think about it. Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely it.
Smart's still dunking.
It is a
because
bummer that
Jaylen would just let out that loudest scream. That's the crowd. That makes
There's
sense.
less of it, right?
I
There's
thought
no
about
crowd,
that.
so there's no reason to friggin' fire it up right now.
It's a big impact.
He's had a
isn't
couple,
it?
but they've just been kind of like, I'm close enough. It's an easy tuck, but he's not doing those hammer throwdowns. He's had a couple breakaways, a couple times. One time he went baseline tonight and just kind of laid it in. He could have absolutely dropped a hammer.
So the bubble was so different, and you had the screen and some of the effects and all that. The production was so nice that it made up a little bit for the lack of fans, even though the playoffs it becomes more glaring. But this year, you feel it. There are so many moments, wins, matchups, as you mentioned here, where you're just like, oh, this is great, but you need the fans for this. And Irving coming back early in the year wasn't the same. And
Killer.
Yeah, so much stuff happening this year that you just win gets taken out of what they're doing here because of the lack of fans. It's a killer.
When the Lakers come to town, it's always
going to capitalize on. How many teams would capitalize on that better than the Celtics or more than the Celtics? You know, like that TD Garden. I mean, to get that back after not having it for so long, it's going to be incredible for this team if they're able to do it in the postseason.
I'm not against the bubble. I'm not, but I understand why they are.
It's not going to happen.
I don't know. We'll see.
Vaccines seem more likely.
Is anyone going to the game here on Saturday or no?
Potentially. Yeah. But we'll have more on Saturday. That's it though, right? A couple days off here?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so a couple days off. Lakers Saturday. We've got and then it's West Coast?
Yep.
LeBron Saturday.
All right.
Dude, watching LeBron is awesome in person. Anyway.
We have told you guys that we are going to do stuff on the West Coast. It might be shorter, might be a smaller cast of characters. We'll keep doing it. We will be back on Saturday. We do have to tell the people about Manscaped. Okay. Press Pass 20% off your purchase. Free shipping at Manscaped. You get the whole deal. All of it. January deal on your grooming needs, all your below the belt grooming needs, as they like to say. Comes with
do it. It's been a long
spray,
winter.
powder, cologne, underwear, a carry bag, the lawnmower 3.0.
3.0. It's huge.
We have amazingly sold a ton of these. And when we do, they keep sponsoring and we get to keep doing this and bringing the content to you for free. So don't be bashful, get one.
I mean, honestly, you need something like it. So if you can get it for 20% off,
you need something.
You know?
You got to have one
something.
of these. You got to have something like this in your kit. If you don't have it, get this quality product.
Aren't they doing like some spray, cologne now too, stuff
all
like
of it.
that?
Spray, powder, cologne, underwear.
Take care of yourself, fellas. Come
carry
on.
bag. Yeah.
Self-care.
You said she doesn't care that much. No, she's lying to you. She does care. All right, take care of yourself.
As we said, you get vaccinated, you start to go out into the world again.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't look the same, all right? You know it's not. Yeah,
you got to be ready. So Manscaped, Press Pass 20, manscaped.com, 20% off, free shipping. Go get some. Guys, let's wrap it up. We'll be back on Saturday. Enjoy a couple days off. Full energy, full effort. 48 minutes. 48 full minutes on Saturday. Everybody at home, thanks for watching. Reminders, of course, as always, that subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And you'll get notified when we go live. So do that. And people are proud of that, Reed. I botched one a couple days ago and people were really concerned.
Hey, ton of new stuff at the network.
You were smooth on that one.
Good read. Proud of you,
Mark,
John.
You got to go over to the channel, check out Mark Stein with him and Ryan this week.
Yeah.
Joe Sway just did a Kobe special with Nick and Max. So if you want to see Nick,
Howard Beck is on with Sherrod, talking about the Lakers. He covered Kobe a great deal, Lakers and Kobe as well. So you have that. And obviously, we know Joe Sway's got Causeway Street. Bobby Manning's got Dome Theory. The Jimmy John podcast in development at some point. We spend so much time together. Yeah. We spend so much time together here. I almost
we can just leave and you'll keep going for 30 more minutes. I think you can do it.
After hours. Card report after dark.
Episodes. Yeah.
Me and Joe Sway will go get a drink and just watch.
Yeah. You guys jump in the thread and troll us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we come up with burners too. Wouldn't know it's us.
That was classic by the commenters tonight. Good job, everybody.
Good job, everybody. I wonder, right? Did everyone just jump off the thread, go develop a new identity, and jump on as them on the fly? That was great.
It might just be the same guy changing his name over and over. I'm not
I
sure.
think it is.
Yeah. It might be the same guy. So again, thanks everybody at home. We always appreciate you guys. And so we'll see everybody again on Saturday. Good night.